Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here. We're back with the Room Mill. Hope you enjoyed the episode of the debrief yesterday. It was spicy, it was engaging, it was interacting, and that's what I want it to be. So really happy that you guys loved it. Some very heated conversation on there, but we're all doing it in the love of Leeds United as always. So make sure you check that out as well on the Patreon. Today or tomorrow, we're going to be releasing Generation Leeds, this week's edition of the podcast. Make sure you check that out if you want a bit of bonus content. Alongside that, we will be doing a live press conference reaction from 5 p.m. today. Make sure you check that out. Daniel Farke's press conference is at 1:30, the live one, and we'll be reacting to that, giving team news, speaking on the Rotherham game, and I want to get your guys' opinions in there as well, so please make sure you're on with me on that journey. So I want to talk about the break so far. Has it been helpful? It's been difficult. It has been difficult, obviously, with Leeds United having so many players out on international duty. But I do feel like, especially with potentially, which we'll find out today, the likes of maybe Jed Spence and a few others that have been injured over the break, they're going to have had time to recover. They're going to have had time to recuperate. We're hopefully going to be seeing the emergence of Sam Byram just after the Rotherham game and Pascal Struijk a little bit sooner as well. There's been a period of time now where the players can get back to relative fitness as well and have been able to work on the training pitch. There's a lot of people talking about it being a bad break for Leeds because, Ipswich were not on a slump as such, but they've got back with a win. Was it a bad period for Leeds stopping at that particular time? The momentum was there. I don't think it was as such. I think Leeds needed a little bit of a break. Maybe the recuperation of someone like Archie Gray as well. Obviously, he's played a lot of games, hasn't he? And Leeds have had this time on the training field, so I don't think it's going to be a bad one at all. Archie Gray was bumped up to the England squad over the break and did not feature in their second fixture. Farke may be asked about the details of that admission. Obviously, there was an early recall for Archie Gray before that second fixture. Why was that? We're going to learn a little bit more today. Hopefully, he's going to be fine for the Rotherham game, because right now we need an Archie Gray, especially if Jed Spence isn't back for this one, especially if the likes of Sam Byram is out as well. What's going on with Jamie Shackleton? He picked up a little bit of a niggle as well. So Leeds really need to bolster those fullback regions, but it's going to be really interesting to see how this is going to work, to be honest with you. But obviously there's been international fallout as well, which we knew after the Plymouth win. Farke did bemoan the Sky Sports fixture list, and that is completely understandable. There was, Wales and England under-21s playing their final fixtures last night, but also the fixtures throughout this period have potentially meant that Joe Rodon, Dan James, Ethan Ampadu, Charlie Cresswell, they may struggle to fit in a decent training session before Friday night's game, and that's a fact. It could be a very tight deadline. In this period there was in Leeds' last out, and it's been 11 days, but there was Pascal Struijk, there was Stuart Dallas, there was Jamie Shackleton, Joe Gelhardt, Jed Spence, Byram. There was a lot of injury discussion, so we're going to find out today in the press conference if that is still a bit of an issue. But I wanted to speak on Wales at this moment in time and the progression they're making and the benefit of Ethan Ampadu. I mean, Ampadu, I watched a little bit of the game the other night, and he's boasted 49 caps for his country at 23 years of age, and sometimes I think that gets glossed over. He's only 23 years of age, but him just in that defensive midfield pivot with Jordan James, they looked absolutely brilliant. And Ethan Ampadu is he's a star. He's an absolute star, and it's so amazing that we've managed to get this kid, and we've managed to get him for £7 million. I just think he's looking superb at the minute, for club and country. And, for Wales, they rely on him heavily. He is really captain material. I wonder how long it's going to be at Leeds United before he takes that permanent fixture, away from Liam Cooper, because Ethan Ampadu is that guy. He is that guy. He's got leadership tendencies. He's got leadership qualities all across the pitch. I find him such a top player. And to say we've got him in the Championship is nuts. He's not a Championship player. I don't think Glenn Kamara is a Championship player. Midfield that we're seeing between, as Glenn Kamara and Ethan Ampadu, it's top. It's a top midfield, and I can't wait to see more of it. And I know a lot of people are a bit nervous about Rotherham, and I think, they've done all right against the top sides this season, and they're going to be up for this one. We know they are. They're in a bit of a scrap themselves. But you've got to see that midfield battle being won by Leeds United. The intensity and the ferocity is going to be there by by the Millers because they hate Leeds United, and we've got many of those in the lower divisions, teams who hate Leeds. We've got a lot of those in the top division. But if we're being honest, there's a lot of tin pot clubs in and around this region who hate Leeds United, so they're going to be well up for it. But it's a positive that they haven't got a new manager. There's a lot of chat about Neil Warnock potentially going there, and I just couldn't stand that Warnock coming back to haunt Leeds. But I think it's going to be a decent advert for Championship football on Friday night. I think it's going to be the best of the best in the Championship, being Leeds United against a Rotherham side who are going to be dogged, and they're symptomatic of any Championship side. They'll grind and they'll really try to get a result against this Leeds side, and they've got the capabilities to do that really when they play to their strengths, which is physicality, long balls, and winning those flick-ons. So Leeds have got to be careful. Andrea Radrizzani's admitted that he made many mistakes while Leeds United's majority owner, but thinks he saved Leeds United after taking over. Radrizzani was announced as Sampdoria's new owner pretty imminently after selling Leeds. He's not wrong. At that period of time, it was Cellino, it was chaos, and when Rads did come in, he gives us a fresh lease of life, and as much as we bemoan Andrea Radrizzani, he brought us Marcelo Bielsa, he brought us the good times. So there were a lot of mistakes, mad signings, sacking Bielsa, and the way that was done, the decorum of that was absolutely hideous, messaging fans as I know very well, and just being a bit of an emotional wreck when it comes to just general stability as a football owner. He really ruined his time a little bit, and he went down in a blaze of fire, especially when the assets were being put against Sampdoria for the acquisition of the club. It wasn't good. It really, really wasn't good. And yeah, don't get me wrong, he's not wrong. I think he did take over at a very, very good time, and he definitely brought calmness with him. He installed obviously Angus Kinnear, Victor Orta, and at the time Leeds actually built a bit of a structure. And obviously he gave Marcelo Bielsa everything that Marcelo Bielsa needed, apart from when Marcelo Bielsa needed a rebuild, and then Radrizzani couldn't do it. He should have sold up. We should have got a new owner. We should have, in hindsight, kept Marcelo Bielsa. Even from my standpoint, I didn't want to keep him at the beginning, that's because I believed what the board were telling me in terms of Bielsa didn't want any more signings, but he did, and we learned that after the fact. And there's a lot of bad decisions there with Radrizzani, but there's no doubt he did save us. Next on the agenda, everybody, Leeds United winger Willy Nonto started and scored twice in Italy under-22 draw with Republic of Ireland on Tuesday last night. And he scored twice in the Italians' win over San Marino earlier on in the international break. The 20-year-old continued his excellent run of form, converting a first-half penalty and finding the net to break Irish hearts to pull the score level. And we know this kid's got quality. We know he's going to do it on the international stage, and we know he's going to be part of that Italian setup with the World Cup. We know, in my opinion, that Willy Nonto does have a higher ceiling than Dan James. He is a Premier League player, but you can't displace Dan James at the minute because of his form. But I do worry a little bit with Willy leaving in January. I would love to keep hold of him. I think he's just a next level when it comes to a winger, especially at this level. It's ridiculous he's on the bench, really. And every other club quotes it when the players, they're bringing Willy Nonto off the bench. So I'd love to keep hold of him. I do think he can fight and get into this starting 11, and hopefully then there will be a little bit more notoriety around him, but he'll be wanting to play Premier League football. I don't think that side of him is diminished whatsoever. And it looks like Leeds United and Real Betis have begun negotiations over a permanent move for Marc Roca. Leeds have suffered a mini exodus of players. As we know, he cost the Whites 10 million quid, but Gonzalo Tortosa has said that apparently the negotiations have started, and that could be a January move, as we know. And that would be good for Leeds. It'd feed in potentially a little bit of money. It could be an early transfer, like we just said. If it is January, that might be able to aid a January pot for us as well. Listen, you guys know my thoughts on Marc Roca, but I don't think it's ever going to work for him now at Leeds United. So, potentially with that money in the pot, Leeds could do something in January and really elevate that side. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you on this rumour mill journey. Make sure you're checking us out a little bit later on when we're going to be speaking about Daniel Farke's press conference and having a little bit of a reaction to that. Really appreciate your support. Make sure you're involved later on, getting a bit of interaction and engagement with you guys as well. Love reading through your comments. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Head on over to the Patreon if you fancy a little bit of bonus content. I'll see you in a bit.